Gus Ortega is a little boy in Colorado who has talked about being his grandfather. This began when he was 18 months old, and he's made a number of statements that seem quite specific. This one is a stronger case because the child has made some very specific statements that it seems very unlikely he could have heard through normal means. Whenever I go to see a case, I go with a certain amount of skepticism. I never go with the assumption that this is reincarnation. And that's also the same approach that I have with the work as a whole.
Grandpa Augie died in 1993. His son Ron found him lying on the floor in his home. A stroke. Grandpa Augie died 5 hours later. He was a shopkeeper. He sold everything people wanted to buy, and he loved his family. But he never met his grandson, Gus. Gus was born 1 year after Grandpa Augie's death. One day, when he was just a year and a half, Gus was alone in his room with his father.
Ron came out and told me that he had just finished changing Augie's diaper, and that he looked right up at him and said, "You know, Dad, when I was your age, I used to change your diaper."
I was flabbergasted, to be honest with you. I thought it was just kind of strange, especially the choice of words to say that phrase, "when I was your age," for this little 1.5-year-old toddler.
He started talking about Grandpa, and just the little things he was saying that we knew he couldn't have known because he never met Grandpa. Yeah, we were pretty puzzled about it.
Then one day, Ron Ortega brought a set of old photos home, and something even more remarkable occurred.
And I said, "Oh, look, look at this old photograph." And he came up to it and he goes, "Oh, there's me." I mean, I was like, just totally astounded, it just stopped me, cold. I mean, because how would he know that?
Gus would make more statements like that over the course of the next years. He would recollect episodes of his grandfather's life that even Ron could hardly remember. And he was there. Gus knew more about his grandfather than he should have.
When I was Grandpa Augie, I died in the hospital. When I went to heaven, God gave me a card. Everybody with a card like that is allowed to come back. I want it to come back.
The Ortega home in Colorado. Dr. Jim Tucker is interviewing Gus Ortega. Gus claims to have lived before as his grandfather.
And how about your grandmother?
Yeah.
And were you a little boy when you were doing that, or was that when you were big? That was when you were big?
Is Gus telling the truth? Tucker has no way of knowing. That is why the most crucial information in many cases come from the parents. Jim Tucker interviews Kathy and Ron Ortega. Standard procedure.
And when was the next time that he said something that suggested he had information, that he knew things about your dad?
Gus said, "I had a sister, but she died. She's a fish now." And we said, "She's a fish? What do you mean? What happened?" And he said, "Well, some bad guys hurt her." Mm-hmm. And that really made me stop, because
I only recently heard the whole facts of this story about my father's sister, and she indeed was murdered, and she was thrown into San Francisco Bay.
A family secret. Little Gus could never have heard about this story because even Ron Ortega did not know about his father's sister. How could his son?
I really hadn't thought of reincarnation or even putting that word in connection with what was happening. I wasn't brought up, with learning about reincarnation. I was brought up Southern Baptist, and certainly did not hear about reincarnation.